Everybody, thank you very much for watching. My name is Don. I want to, like many people, I once doubted David Icke when he spoke about reptilian shapeshifters. I thought, I was one of those who thought he was, it wasn't all there. I mean, it seemed like a crazy idea about reptilians, shapeshifters. But I did some research and I found out he might have a point. This is a bit of a second part to I would have done a video about, was the serpent in the Garden of Eden a reptilian or some sort of like a half human, half serpent creature? Was he the first serpent? So I have more information about this, which I probably didn't use the first time. And let me see. This is it. In Judeo-Christian law, the Bible does not mention reptilians per se, but does mention serpents, such as the one that got Adam and Eve evicted from the Garden of Eden. The serpent of Eden was actually not a snake as we recognize one, and was only somewhat serpentine, a serpentine human that God created, intelligent, made. So the Hebrew word for serpent, as used in the book of Genesis, is Nahash, sometimes referred to Nakash. According to many ancient Hebrew texts, the serpent walked upright as men did. Can you believe that? It had legs. So, we've not, it's in an extra biblical text, books. It won't tell you in the Bible, but there's more in lost books, such as interpretation of the erect two-legged serpent is actually in agreement with the book of Genesis and other ancient resources. For instance, Genesis 3:14, so the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all the days of your life. Because he made Adam and Eve sin and the fall of mankind, which implies that prior to this transgression he had legs and walked as opposed to crawled. That's what it implies. Legends of the Jews, a book called by Louis Ginsburg, states that serpent in Genesis could speak and walk upright on two legs. Yes, could walk and talk, because it says it spoke to the Eve. Whatever it was, I believe Satan spoke through this serpentine reptilian and deceived Eve and then Adam. It spoke. It was either possessed it. He can even transform himself into anything. So he also chased Adam and Eve through the garden. It says he could speak and walk upright on two legs. Legends of the Jews also states, among the animals, it says here, that the serpent was quite notable. Of all of them, he had the most excellent qualities, in some of which he resembled man. Like man, he stood upright upon 2 feet, and the height was equal to a camel, so that's quite tall. In God's punishment of the serpent, God is cited as stating, I created thee to be, God created the serpent to be king over all the animals, cattle and the beasts of the field alike. But you was not satisfied, even though I made you above the rest and most intelligent. satisfied. Therefore thou shalt be cursed among all the cattle and every beast of the field. I created thee of upright posture, but thou was not satisfied. That's why, he was brought low, physically and spiritually. So therefore, per Hebrew legends, the serpent of Eden was not actually originally a serpent or snake as we know them today, but a reptilian creature that did crawl and did not crawl about, but was cursed to crawl on his belly after the transgression of Eve of Eden. The serpent of Eden was not a snake, but a reptilian creature unknown to modern man. Do they still exist? Some say some recent sightings, have been made in America and worldwide. But let me show you a little video first. This is a short clip from Naga, the reptilian secret of sound and frequency in Cambodia by Pavarine Mohan. So this reptilian, whatever legends and myths are all over the world. This is in India about the Naga.
Hey guys, today we're going to look at something really fascinating in the ancient temple of Preah Vihear in Cambodia. Today, to reach Preah Vihear temple, we have to drive up through steep roads because the temple complex is on top of a mountain which is about 1,700 feet tall, and we are able to reach almost the top, and then we can park the car and explore the temple. But this is not how ancient people visited the temple. Hindus considered climbing mountains a sacred ritual in itself. So to truly experience how ancient people reached the temple, you have to go through an entrance which is forbidden to visitors now. This is the ancient staircase, and immediately you notice that it is guarded by these two giant nagas. The nagas are snake-like reptilian creatures described in sacred Hindu texts. But these nagas are awe-inspiring. Look at the size of each one. Compare them with my height. The hooded head of the naga alone would be at least 15 feet tall. But it's not just the size of the naga that amazes you. Look at the details. The nagas are commonly thought of as snakes, but look at these heads. Do snakes have teeth like human beings? Your initial reaction would be thinking that no, snakes do not have rows of teeth. They just have sharp fangs to inject venom. But that's not true. Most of us do not know that snakes do have rows of teeth. Heart by telling him this is the Hindu god Vishnu, along with his wife Lakshmi. We can even see Brahma, the lord of all creation, coming out of his navel. Both these fabulous carvings are from Hinduism, but surprisingly, most Cambodians have forgotten about their glorious Hindu past. Most locals here even believe that Preah Vihear is a Buddhist temple. But I'm just rambling. Look at the tails of both these nagas. Both tails clearly show an erect, rattle-like feature pointing to the sky. This is definitely an important feature of the nagas. This is what I wanted to find. Now, let's go straight back to the big naga statues. Why are the nagas carved with vibrating tails? How did ancient builders know about the rattle sound and its natural vibration, even though there is no such snake species in this country. Strangely enough, rattlesnakes themselves cannot hear the sound because they don't have ears. They can only feel the vibration. But more importantly, why is this feature carefully carved in every naga of this temple complex?
So why is it, all ancient cultures around the world have stories of reptilians or half human, half serpents? Sounds like something that came out of Eden. I believe even though God created us, a lot of these ancient legends show that these reptilians or so-called reptilian gods, I will read a lot of examples if you stick around from all over the world, because I've done a lot of research on it, that even though God created us, they came down and corrupted mankind, and through genetically manipulating us or even have relations with mankind, they became gods. These reptilian shapeshifters or whatever, they became gods, but really God created us. They just came down and either manipulated our DNA or have relations with us, before, as it was before the flood and in Eden. So, and see, also one more about in ancient Egypt. Also in Egypt, let me see. Ancient Egyptian papyrus confirms the existence of reptilian beings. So even, let's see.
Ancient Egyptian papyrus confirms the existence of reptilian beings. A long time ago, in ancient times, an advanced technological civilization of reptilian beings dominated the surface of our planet. We know this from all of the ancient texts that we've discovered as of yet, which speak of their technological and physical prowess and how they ruled over us with ease. Today we will be looking into a series of texts including this ancient Egyptian papyrus, which proves that the ancient Egyptians were worshipping these reptilians. The papyrus talks about the Navash serpent, which is commonly referred to as the serpent from the Garden of Eden. There is also mention of Adam, the serpent man, and of course, Enki-Ea, the double helix serpents that we've already heard plenty of from the ancient Sumerian tales. Each is believed to be deities of some sort that lived amongst humans in ancient times, ruling over them. Almost every civilization out there has at one point apparently worshipped these beings. The papyrus also speaks of Sobek, the man-crocodile hybrid which ruled over Egypt and created all life and vegetation on it through his own sweat. He created the Nile River by sweating, and he even created the world as we know it with his actions. We even know of the Heliopolitan myth of creation, which is eerily similar to the ancient Sumerian tablets and the rendition of the genesis of humanity that they speak of. Overall, it is pretty safe to say that these ancient reptilian beings were living amongst us in ancient times.
So can you believe that? Even in ancient Egypt, they speak about reptilians. The papyrus talks about, ancient Egyptian papyrus talks about the Navash serpent, which is commonly referred to the serpent from the Garden of Eden. There is also mention of Atom, the serpent man. Of course, Enki-Ea, the double helix serpents that we've already heard mentioned in ancient Sumerian tales. Yeah, even Anunnaki was meant to be, in ancient Sumerian text by Zechariah Sitchin, were reptilians. I'm going to read some examples. Stick around. I think it just shows that there's some truth in these reptilian legends. It wasn't a joke. David Icke was right. So see, in Americas, I'm going to go all over the world to prove that reptilians existed. In the Americas, the Toltec Mayan god Gugamatz was described as a serpent of wisdom. Serpent of wisdom to the Toltec Mayan god. To the Mayans, this Toltec Mayan god Gugamash was described as serpent of wisdom, who enlightened, who gave wisdom to humankind. His Aztec counterpart was Quetzalcoatl. The Yucatan. In the Yucatan, he's called Kukulkan. Now, the Hopi Indians refer to a race of reptoids called the Shetty or Snake Brothers, who live underground. The Cherokee Indians and other Native American peoples also refer to reptoid races, reptilian humanoids, and there's a lot of stories even today in America where they've been seen. And it says here, so Hopi Indians, the Toltec Mayans, in pre-Columbian mythology from Colombia, Baku, or the primordial woman, was transformed into a big snake. She is also sometimes called the celestial snake, or serpentine celestial. Many users, this is it, of the drug. I won't mention that one because it's very hard to pronounce. In Europe, Cerops the first, legendary king, first king of Athens, was said to have been half man, half snake. So would you believe that the first legendary king of Athens was meant to be half man, half snake, like the Nagas in India? The ancient Titans and Gigantines were sometimes depicted as a winged man-like beings with serpents instead of legs. So the Gigantines, winged men-like beings, but with a serpent body instead of legs, where it should be. For example, on the fresco on the Temple of Pergamum, in these images from Pergamum, some of which depict the gigantomachy, one sees the giant Glytios with huge serpents in place of legs. Boreas, or Qualion to the Romans, was the Greek god of cold wind, north wind, and described as Phorcenians as a winged man with serpents for legs. So this is that was America's. This is Europe. The European dragon dates back from ancient depictions on various archaeological artifacts. An early instance in literature was a dragon that guarded the Golden Fleece in the voyage of the Argonauts. In the Middle Ages, tales of dragons seem to have become even more common. In India, again, as we said, in Indian scriptures and legends, the Naga are reptilian beings, as we said before, said to live underground and interact with human beings on the surface. Some are alleged to turn human, so shape-shifting. In some versions, these beings were said to once lived on the continent in the Indian Ocean that sunk beneath the waves. Some Atlantis. Indian texts also refer to a reptilian race called the Sarpa. So, and the Siktriya of India were a tribe of men with snake-like nostrils in place of noses and bandy serpentine legs. So these reptilian humanoids myths, ancient myths all over the world, the Americas I've read, Europe and India. This is a picture of the Nagas in architecture, you can see the top half of human and bottom half like a snake. Was that something? Could that have been it? The serpent in Eden that had legs, more reptilian. Let's see. Let's see if there's any more. Yes, there's more. East Asia. The Chinese, Korean, and Japanese speak throughout their history of Yong in Korean or Ryu in Japanese, or dragons, which were conceived of in both physical and non-physical forms, but rarely depicted in humanoid form, though they may assume a non-reptilian human form. So in Asia, Far East, they speak a lot about the dragon, don't they? The Japanese have tales of Kappa, basically a reptilian humanoid. In China and Korea and Japan, underwater realms where the dragon kings and the descendants live are referred to, as well as the lineage of humans from a race of dragons. They claim, in China, Korea and Japan, and their descendants live are referred to, as well as the lineage of humans from a race of dragons they claim they came from, or, as it were, the nobility. This lineage was often claimed by Asian emperors who were believed to be able to change from human to dragon form at will. So these legends in the Far East, they were basically shape-shifting reptilians, dragons that turn into human forms at will, much like the modern concept of shape-shifting reptilians. However, the dragon is seen as a good rather than evil in Eastern tradition. Now in the Middle East, reptilians being ranging from certain jinn to dragons and serpent men have been spoken of in ancient times. In one of the apocryphal books, purporting to be the lost book of Jasher, a serpent race is described. And we know what you call it. In the book of Genesis, God punishes the serpent for deceiving Eve and Adam. And again, it was, remember, upon its belly thou shalt go, and thus thou shalt eat all the days of thy life. Traditionally, many have felt that this implies that the serpent, a snake or reptilian, had legs before that. Thus it therefore often portrayed in Western arts as a humanoid woman with a snake tail, and sometimes lizard-like feet, as in a detail from Bosch's Last Judgment. In Africa, some shamans claim to bear extensive esoteric knowledge of a race of reptilians called Shaturi, whom they say control the earth. So, well, would you believe the shamans claim to get a lot of knowledge from these reptilian race that claim to control the earth. They also claim to have accounts of reptilian races who created them and used them to work their gold mines. I remember seeing a documentary with David Icke and a shaman who claims to have seen these reptilians. Also, in ancient Egypt, the god Sobek was portrayed as a man with the head of a crocodile. I think I've got a picture of it. There, Sobek, head of a crocodile. So, so I've got so much ancient, legends and myths of reptilians all over the world. You know, it makes you believe that it's true. You know, as I've read in Americas, in Europe, in India, in Asia, in the Middle East, you know, Africa, even, it says in modern times, some claim to have encountered reptilian humanoids. You know, this proves that the reptilian stories are not, you know, just a joke, but it's true, as David Icke says. And, you know, the reptilian in the Garden of Eden was not just merely a snake, but really Satan used, or as it were, possessed, or even made himself into a serpent, which in turn brought the downfall of mankind. Even the Anunnaki that came before the flood claimed to be, you know, fallen angels that could shapeshift into any form, Nephilim, and corrupted mankind. God made us perfect, and Satan and these made himself into the serpent and probably reptilian forms and corrupted mankind. So hope you enjoy this video, and there might be some truth in what David Icke said about these reptilian races. And if you haven't come to know Christ, please do, because, you know, only through Christ, in John 14:6, he says, I am the way, the truth and the life. Through him we can gain salvation. Please put faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and repent. Thank you very much. Bye. Be saved. Bye.